Okay, I've had some questions come to me regarding how to double knit these very cute little bears inside out. So I'm going to try and show you that. I always start with the feet, and the very first part that I'm going to start is garter stitch. Now I started this in green. I know that doesn't really look like a paw foot for a bear, but it's green. Okay, I have done garter stitch in double knit up through the last side is pearls. You'll see you have a row of pearls on the front and a row of pearls on the back. Now if I take and kind of separate, I can't really tell because it's not big enough, there are no yarn strands that cross between the front and the back. Therefore, it creates like a tube inside here. And like I said, you can't really tell, but it's not attached. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, since my last row was a pearl row on each side, is I'm going to knit each side. Now, you have to remember in your mind that this is actually inside out. So when I were to flip this the right way, I would actually be looking at knits and knits. Not that that really matters at this point. That only matters when you're wanting to do stockinette, and it's, you know, and then you basically are looking at all pearls. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to take that yarn from the back and cross it over. So you just want to like lock in my front yarn. So the last stitch that I completed was on the back because it was coming from this way. So this is the first stitch or the first piece of yarn that I'm going to work. I'm trying to do this quickly because I have somewhere to go. Okay, this is the back piece. I'm going to take it and just twist it around and bring it up. It's twisted. Now I like to just sort of use, it's much easier if you're just going along and doing this. I like to use like my knuckle to sort of strand the two between the front and the back. Once it's twisted, all you do is going to knit since the last row was pearls, I'm going to knit the first one, but I want to use the same yarn that I used coming from the back with the other yarn twisted around it like this. So I'm going to grab that back yarn and pull it through in a knit. I'm sorry, my angle here is really weird. Okay, so I knit the front stitch with the yarn coming from the back. Then I'm going to purl the next stitch, which is kind of sitting back a little bit, and you can tell that that's the back side of the fabric. So I'm going to bring both yarns forward, and you have to remember which yarn you were just knitted with. If you forget, you can kind of give it a little tug and go, oh, okay, this was the one I just knitted, so the next one I want to purl. So with both strands in front, you will just purl the stitch like such. Then you move your yarns, both yarns, to the back. Now this is creating a reverse side garter stitch. Now on the inside it's going to be purl because what I'm looking at in the front are all knits. And purl. And I wanted to get across here to the end. Sorry, that's going to delay the length of this video, but that's okay. Knit and then purl. You see how too that back stitch back there that I'm getting ready to do the purl in is a knit, and that's because I'm doing it in garter stitch. Now if I wanted to do all knits, I would want to knit that back stitch, you know, if I wanted my inside, because you're looking right there, that's the inside, that's a knit on the inside of this mess. Okay, so this one was a purl, and then a knit, and a purl. Like I said, you have to excuse my angle and whatnot, and the fact I keep poking the yarn into the needle into the yarn. I'm trying to hurry. This is for Jan. And a knit, and because this part is what people see all the time doing this, because I am creating, although I'm calling it inside out, most people would do this for right side. Okay, I've just done the last one, which is a purl. Now what I'm going to do is turn my work around. I take both yarns to the back and again, I want to cross the yarns, the 2 yarns. I want to knit with the last one, the strand that I last used, which is coming from what is now the back. That sounds weird. Okay, so I want to make sure that these are crossed, but I want the back yarn to now be in the front. So I have this one in the front and this one in the back. The one coming from the front is now in the back, and the back yarn is now in the front. Okay, so then to hold that in that position, you just sort of straddle the needle. So you have what was the back yarn is now on the front, and the front is now on the back, and each are straddling your needle. And then again, I hold it with my knuckle, sort of keeps them separated. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually creating a knit on the inside of this tube, okay? The very first stitch that I'm going to do is going to be a purl stitch, because remember, I am purling on the outside, but I'm creating knit on the inside. So the first stitch is to purl, and don't move your yarn. You keep your yarn in the same exact position, and then you knit the back stitch. Then you purl your front stitch, whoops, and then you knit your back stitch. Purl your front stitch. See how easy that is? Because I never have to I don't have to twist or move my yarns from the back to the front. And like I said, this is, sorry if I keep getting out of camera view too. I haven't done this in a while, and I set it up really fast. Okay, so like I said, I am creating a purl stitch on the front, but a knit stitch on the inside. Now the back is also a purl, because here's the front, and I'm purling the front, creating a knit on the inside. Then I'm knitting the back, which is creating a purl on the inside. Does that make any sense? I hope so. Okay, so then I have a row of purls and a row of purls. So when I turn it inside out, it's going to be all knits. And again, I still have a tube going. So okay, so that's the end of my foot. But just for whatever sake, I'm just going to go along here for another second and start the next row. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch colors actually, and I'm going to start in with brown, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. So I want now to switch to stockinette stitch on the inside. So I want all my outside stitches to be purls. So again, I'm going to use the back yarn, and I'm going to bring it around to the front and keep the front one in the back, and straddle those yarns across that needle. So you have the back is now in the front, and the front yarn is now in the back. And then the first stitch I'm going to do, because I'm creating inside out double knit, is purl the first stitch, knit the back stitch, purl the first stitch, knit the back stitch, and you can see it as you go along. You'll see that forming, and you see this one's my next stitch that I'm going to work here is a purl. I am working all purls on the front, and that's a purl. And then you see the back stitch in here. That's the knit. It's facing you as a knit, so you want to knit that, because we're now doing just plain old stockinette stitch. And like I said, that I'm going to actually, if I get to the end of this, I'll pull it off and show you what it looks like to turn it inside out. Now, if you were to turn it inside out, what you have to do normally, I'm just going to rip this off here, is take and slide every other stitch onto a separate needle. So you're going to want to move your back stitches to one needle and your front stitches to another needle. But like I said, I'm just going to go to the end here. Whoops, yeah. I like to knit with my fingers sometimes. And then when you, and then when you pull it apart and you put, like I said, your front needles, your front stitches on one needle and your back stitches on another needle, when you pull it apart, you have a magic little tube that you formed. And then I'll flip it inside out. Of course, there's my cast on. And since it's garter stitch, you know, I started to begin with it. Obviously, it still looks like garter stitch, but you can see that very first row of stockinette stitch started there. So that's how you double knit. Double knit in the inside out and makes this tube thing. So for the bear, I'd work one leg, and then I'd do the same start just like this, and I'd work one more leg, and then join the two together, and then work up the sweater. And then what you want to do after that is up to you. That's how you do it. Sorry, this is